the best months to be invested based on historical data. And yes, there is a disclaimer. This is not financial advice and is for informational purposes only. I am not responsible for any losses you may incur. Google Sheets and Google Finance. So let's Control C and copy this, paste it, and demonstrate how it works very briefly in a different sheet. Click on the top left cell, Control V, and I gave that error, I don't know. Go back to here again. We can change this to something else. So let's say NVIDIA. Change this to say minus 10 days. Hit return. It gives you NVIDIA prices open close for the last 10 days. That's all. Back onto the Google Sheet with the Dow Jones Industrial. I've taken off, I think this is the max that's available. If I do 19,001, I think I get, oh, that's interesting. Well, let me try something else. I thought it gave me an error last time I did that. Let's try 20,000. I did settle on 19,000. And I think eventually it's going to give me quotes are not sourced from all markets. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's like doing nothing. Error. Too much data. I found that this worked well. So all I've done with this Google Finance function, and we'll let it load first, is I've taken the Dow Industrial Average, all the data, all the columns, from today minus 19,000 to today daily. So we've got a daily value. The date, the open and closing values of that particular ticker, which is DJI, which is the Dow Jones Industrial Average Index. Open on this day at this amount, close on this day at this amount, and then this day open close. There are highs and lows. We're not interested in those at the moment, and we're not interested in volume at the moment. And we've gone from 1972, which if we get a calculator and we say 19,000 divided by 365 days a year, goes back 50 years. So now I want to copy the data into Excel because a little bit easier to work with in some respects, and I want to show how to use both. I'm not going to copy the header column because that will actually copy the finance function, which Excel will not interpret like Google Sheets does. So I'm highlighting these rows. I'm going to use the right scroll bar to go down to the bottom of the data, and it can be difficult to find it. Oops, there. Click the Shift key, left click the mouse button. Now it's highlighted all the data. All right, Control C. I'm going to go into my Excel spreadsheet, top left, Control V to paste. But the reason why I couldn't copy the headers is because the Google Finance function is in the top. We go back to there. It's in there. It'll copy the Google Finance function. Try to execute. Can't find it because it's not Google Sheets. Now, when I go back to my done copy, I inserted two columns, the month number and the month name. All that is basically a text function on A2 and A3. So we've got further down here, see this A2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on the column on the left. MM for the month number. MMMM actually gives you the name of the month. I'm going to save as a directory I've already prepared on here. Drive D. And I'm going to fiddle around with it in Snowflake. Data work. Snowflake. And finance. And we could save that spreadsheet there. We don't have to. CVS, MS-DOS. We're trying to create a common delimited file. I've already saved it there. I'll overwrite it. Save on top of it. Open that. That's basically stored a CSV file inside here in this spreadsheet. Now we're going to connect to Snowflake. I like Snowflake. It's easy to use, not expensive. We're doing little things like this. Very simple. I have an account. That's the name of my account. I have a username that is this. I've copied my password from a safe place, pasted it in, signed it in. I have MFA set up for security reasons. That sends a push to a little app on my phone called DOW, which I will now locate, and it will log me in. I have a thing called a worksheet here, which is where you write queries. I created some stuff to help with this. If I go into here, database called finance, scheme inside the database called statistics, and I've already created a table. I'm going to just generate it again. So this is the table which matches date, month, number, the data that you saw just now in the spreadsheet. I'm going to replace the table. I'm going to replace this thing as well, which is a formatting object that allows me to format Snowflake tables directly from a CSV file. So I'm going to create a stage thing, which is essentially a table created in Snowflake that points us at the file on the outside the database, this file here. This particular tool cannot be used in this interface, so I'll use another one. Just going to show nothing in there. I'm going to go and open up this stage external table. I'm going to go and import a file, got to find it. That's the file I dumped out. Upload it. Right, one file uploaded down there. Now let's go back to here, and when we list the stage, show the things in the stage, we have a file there. See, Google Finance CSV, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to run a thing called a copy into command. It's going to copy the data in. This is the table I created. We go back up here. DJI, Dow Jones Industrial History. And this is the data, and I just copied the data into it. I'm going to highlight this command by putting the mouse on it and press the Control and Enter keys on a Windows keyboard. See, I've got data there, and I left out the year. So I'm going to do something interesting. I'm going to recreate the table as a copy, adding in the year, keeping the month number, the open, close, and the date. All right, just like that. Drop the original table. I'm going to rename the temporary table I just created as the original one. And now we go back to the original table. We have date, year, month, number, open, close. So now I want to show you a query that I wrote. We don't need to go into the details, but what this query does is it gives me an average of the change between the first day of the month and the last day of the month, the open and close prices. I'm trying to figure out the percentage increase or decrease on average over the last 50 years for each month to find out the best months to invest in. So I wrote a query that looks like this. I can break it up into pieces. This thing here is called a with clause. It allows you to write a query that gets plugged into another query in the same query. SQL is declarative. It's kind of interesting. So first value, last value gives you the first day and last day of the month and the open and close values. And then we only pull out those first last day values. So let's just show you what it does. There might be an easier way to do this, but this was quick. So we look at the data. It finally executes. A little bit slow today for some reason. Okay, so here we have April, month 4. That's the opening price on the first day of April, which is date 3rd of April 1972. This is the closing price on the last day of the month. Remember, these are stock market open days, business days. What we're really looking for is the difference between the open and close for each month, and then we're going to average for each month. So that's the first part of the query, right? So we go down to here. This is commented out, by the way. That was when I was testing. I can delete that for now. I'm going to comment this out. I selected the data from this with clause. It's basically a temporary query, and it's telling you what it does there. Finds the opening and closing day of each month. Let's go to the next one. Months will find one row per month. So now I'm going to go and do this and show you what I get here. What I get here is the first day, the last day, plus the year, the month number, open and close for this month 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, to 12, then into the next year, 1973, go all the way down to the end of the data set, and we go all the way to the year 2024. So we've actually got a percentage change between open and close, the first and last of the month respectively, for each month. Now what we want to do is to average the entire data set to get an average for each month. So comment this out. Average percentage growth per month over the last 50 years, 52 to be precise. I'm going to run this query, and you can see what we get there. We actually get 12 rows, the average for all months for the last 50 years. The first month on average increases 1%, the second month 0.1%, and then the 8th month, which is August, on average decreases 0.3, September. So we can see quite obviously that September is not a good month to invest. November and December are good, and April is generally the best. So now we're going to do an interesting trick inside Snowflake. It has its own charting tool right there. That's a histogram. January, February, March, April, good. January, okay. March, okay. May, sell in May and go away. June, not so good. July, okay. September, August and September, not good. Generally, the end of the year is good. So let's go back to the results. Now we could have actually done all this in Excel, a bit difficult, complicated, but easier in a database. But what I'm going to show you is copy and paste back into Excel. And let's do some fancy things here a little bit. I'm going to draw the same graph or something similar in Excel. So we've got month number, we've got percentage, and we just put another column in here and just do this. January, oops, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. Now, put months in here. Now let's try, take these two columns, Control key, left mouse button. Let's try to find the simplest diagram we can, like recommended, for instance. Let's say clustered column, it's not a histogram. That's not going to work. Take this one. And here we go. We've got January, good. April, really good. September, bad. October, November, December, not so bad. That's the same thing in Excel.